when you start doing things that are healthy for you and learning what you really need in order to stay healthy, your relationships get better because you start to identify people that could be problematic. When you learn what you need and start setting boundaries around it, and people come into your life and they're like, I don't understand why you have to go to the gym. I don't understand why, we can't just blah, 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 and you need to do all these things. And, oh, that's silly. Or they start poking fun at you for it. It'll start raising huge red flags that you might not have seen before because you're like, this person might be toxic. This person might not understand boundaries. This person might not be good for me in my life. Maybe I should separate myself. Hi there, friends. My name is Maria, and you can have all the motivation in the world. I consider myself to be a very motivated and determined individual, but it wasn't until I started applying practical steps into my life to deal with preventing and dealing with dysregulation. The dysregulation always got the better of me. It always won until now. If there are toxic people in your life where you can't trust how they're going to end up making you feel, it's very important that you find ways to distance yourself from them. You are allowed to set boundaries for yourself, especially if it's people who, sometimes toxic people say stuff specifically to get your goat. They do it on purpose and they enjoy seeing people get all riled up and dysregulated. And I bet you know right now who I'm talking about in your life. But what if it's someone you really can't avoid, like a family member? Well, then here's what you do. When the phone rings and it's somebody who might purposefully make you end up feeling bad about yourself, you don't know. That's the thing about toxic people. You never know what kind of mood they're going to be in. And so you can't trust it. But it's not like you can never answer the phone for them ever again. So here's what I do. Someone calls me and they're a trigger person. I ask myself, I let that phone ring, and while it's ringing, I ask myself, Maria, are you mentally strong enough today where if this conversation goes sideways, you can handle it? And if the answer is no, because I don't feel like I'm having a mentally strong enough day, I don't answer the phone, and I'm not sorry about it. I know that sounds harsh, but you know how I think of it? Back when I was growing up, we didn't have cell phones and caller IDs. So if you weren't home, people got the voicemail. You weren't home. You couldn't answer the phone. I don't know why, because we've all gotten cellular devices, that people automatically assume that you are obligated to answer your phone for them every single time just because they happen to want to talk to you. Maybe you're just not home. And that's perfectly fine. It's normal. You have permission to not have to be home all the time just because other people need something. You can't make everybody happy all the time. That'll make you nuts too. And by the way, if you haven't yet, first of all, thank you so much if you have subscribed. I really appreciate you helping me grow this channel so we can get these practical steps out to people who really need them. Also, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I would love to talk more about dysregulation, triggers, how we can deal with all this stuff on a daily basis so that our mental state and our relationships can start to consistently become healthier. And make no mistake, I can still get triggered just like everybody else, and I still get dysregulated. But the real difference is I have started identifying and learning my triggers so I can take the practical and preventative measures to keep me from getting dysregulated. One trigger for me is if I go into someone's house and I use their bathroom and their bathroom smells like weed. I don't know why. It just makes me feel really icky on the inside. It makes me think of substance abuse and hiding things, and it triggers me. Another thing I don't like is if I go to someone's home and they've got big, heavy curtains, and even if it's the middle of the day, their curtains are closed. It makes me think of depression, or it reminds me of when my life wasn't going so great and I would stay in bed until 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I was just really mentally unhealthy and I had nothing else going on in my life. Well, I don't live in dark houses anymore, so I don't hang out in them either. That's the point. you have to try to minimize and distance yourself from the triggers. You can like or love somebody all you want, but if it starts to make you feel worse than well, I'd really reevaluate just how much time you're willing to give that person. Here's a good tip. I heard this tip from someone who also grew up with a lot of dysregulation, and she said it worked for her, and I tried it, and it definitely works for me. So I'm going to pass it to you. If you are having a day and you start to kind of emotionally unravel a little bit because unexpected things are happening, or maybe the people around you are acting extra feisty that day, and everything sort of seems to be getting out of control, I want you to walk up to a sink and turn the water on and wait until it gets nice and warm. And then stand in front of that sink and for just a couple of minutes, run your hands through that warm water and breathe. This is so soothing and calming, because I'll bet since you suffer from trauma, stress, childhood PTSD, dysregulation, maybe things are getting a little crazy around you, but your emotions and your mental state is starting to turn it up to 11. It might not be an 11, maybe it's only at a 6, but we kind of tend to turn things up to an 11. So I want you to find that sink and find that nice warm water and feel it and breathe. And when you just stop for a second and do this and feel how nice the water feels, it'll help you see and evaluate things a little more clearly, like, okay, things are not like I'm just getting overwhelmed. And when you acknowledge it, that also helps dysregulation. Acknowledge that you are beginning to get dysregulated and just think to yourself, I can handle this. Things are not as bad as they seem right now. I'm going to take a moment and I can get a handle on this day. And even if these aren't people that trigger you, let's say you love them, they're your family. A lot of times in the past, I've just had to excuse myself and go in another room for 10 minutes and just sit in silence. 10 minutes and then I'm back in action, baby. And that seemed to help a lot. Go ahead and try some of these tips. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think or how they worked for you, and I will talk to you very soon.